So I am a mediator in private practice. I am based behind La Puppy Mediations, and I also volunteer for an organization called For the Children's Sake at Weinberg Court, where we do mediations in court referred cases in the domestic violence court, the children's court, and the maintenance court. I am currently running the 100 Days Challenge. And so, in a nutshell, my heart is around self-preservation, restoring families, communities. And having said that, I am not a legal persona, but my inquisitive mind has led me to unpacking case law and trying to understand how best we can help our young and assist our young adult dependent children. With some of the stories I have dealt with firsthand, I felt that I would make it my mission to educate around the legal position of young adult children. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Hi there.
Hi, Natalie.
How are you, Nazima?
Good. Nice to see you again.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for joining.
Sure.
Still a bit early, so we'll just give time for people to enter the room.
Hi, Natalie.
Hi, JP. How are you?
I'm okay. Yourself?
I miss you. I don't see you anymore.
You know what, Natalie? I'm waiting for the certificate to come through so that I can properly go for accreditation now. The certificate is not coming through, so I'm sitting in limbo. How's that?
Okay, I'll find out for you tomorrow. I'll make a note.
Please
Hey,
do,
Janet.
because yeah, that's where I am. No jokes.
Fantastic. We do miss you at Weinberg Court.
I miss you guys as well, Natalie. Yeah. And some other actions. Anyway, tell you later.
Yes, we must do tea.
Yes, we must.
Hi, Debbie. Hi, Dion.
Hi.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm finding you.
Good. I'm so happy to see you here.
Oh, good to be here. I attended yesterday's one as well.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
it was, yeah, no, I'm learning a lot.
Wonderful. Oh, welcome. We're just waiting for some more people to enter the room, so we'll just give it a few minutes. Hi, Agnes. Hi, Trish. Hi, Agnes. I miss you too. Haven't seen you forever. Okay, we're just going to give it 2 more minutes and then I will get right into it. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. I think we will start. It's about just after 6 p.m. For those of you who feel comfortable, please do turn on your cameras. I hate speaking to a blank screen. JP, you can put your camera back on. And whoever else feels comfortable, I'd appreciate that. Thank you, Debbie.
Just doing tea.
You're just doing tea. Okay, go and make your tea. I'll wait for you. Awesome. You're all sorted. Sounds good. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm just going to introduce myself for those of you who do not know me. I see there are a few people on the platform that I haven't met and who don't know me. So very brief introduction. I am Natalie Ruiters. I am an accredited mediator, and I am a mediator that mediates in full spectrum family matters in private practice. And I am the face behind La Poppy Mediations, but I also volunteer for an organization called For the Children's Sake at Wynberg Court, where we do mediations in the domestic violence court, the children's court, and the maintenance court. I am currently running the 100 Days Challenge at Wynberg Court in the domestic violence court, where we are doing mediations in the domestic violence court to hopefully have a faster turnaround time and finalization of cases in the domestic violence court. And we are nearing the end of our 100 days. And I must say that our stats are looking really positive. So just to give you an idea, before we started, our baseline, or the baseline within the court was, the court was finalizing 35 cases per week. And now we've increased the finalization rate of cases to between 58 and 60 cases per week. So we've almost doubled that by mediation. And that is very encouraging. Having said that, well, my talk is not about domestic violence, but I just thought I'd make mention of that. And yeah, so I would like to say that I am not a legal persona, but my heart is really around self-preservation, restoring families, and healing of communities. And having an inquisitive mind, I ventured into understanding case law and trying to find out how best we can help and assist our young adult dependent children who are a vulnerable group in South Africa. So on that note, I'll be talking about the legal position of young adult dependent children in South Africa, and I'll be making reference to case law of Z versus Z, and the most recent one, DWT versus MT, that was decided upon in the George Circuit High Court. So that's me in a nutshell, and I will continue with my presentation. Okay, I love interaction, so please, at any time you got any questions, do stop me. Let's talk about this. We're all learning. Like I said, I'm not of the legal fraternity, but rather just an inquisitive mind, trying to help our young adult dependent children. And so, like I said, my talk today will be on young adult dependent children in the maintenance court, where we will revisit the George Circuit case of DWT versus MT and Z versus Z, where we make reference to that. But I think I want to start my talk by talking about the picture that we see on the slideshow. Now, this picture, when I decided to use it for my presentation, my husband, who is online, he is an advocate, and he said to me, "Why would you use such an ugly picture to talk about a very serious case?" And my response to him was, this is exactly where our young adult dependent children find themselves in South Africa. They're messy. They're trying to figure out life. They haven't figured out life as yet. They don't know who they are. They're trying to find their identity. Some of them are still in high school. And what they do in their spare time is they doodle and they draw and they sketch and they take walks on the beach and they drink iced coffees. They're not in a position to become fully sustainable. And therefore, I felt that this picture was quite fitting for my talk. It was actually drawn by my daughter's best friend. He's 19. And this was a picture of them walking on the beach, drinking iced coffees, because that's what they do, trying to figure out life. Okay. I thought I'd set the stage by showing that picture. And so today I will talk about the Supreme Court of Appeal case, which was the Z versus Z case that was decided upon in Bloemfontein last year, July. I will then talk about what happened 90 days after, which was the George Circuit Court case, DWT versus MT. This was decided upon last year, October. And I will talk about the proposed way forward for young adult dependent children in the courts and the way forward. So I'll briefly touch on Section 6 discharge applications on a J107, the opposing discharge applications, as well as filing opposing affidavits, and retrospectivity. What about children where fathers have already stopped contributing? I'll make a quick touch on that. So going forward, I'm going to, maybe let's do this quickly. For those of you in the room, we are, how many in the room? I think we are 14. For those of you in the room, can we please have a quick show of hands who actually know who the case law of Z versus Z and DWT versus MT? Okay, I'm counting 3 hands. Okay. So the last talk that I did, it was at a conference. And in the talk, there was 4 hands. And in the talk, Janet, do you want to ask a question or are you raising a hand?
Thanks. I want to ask, won't you please open your picture up because the photos are going over the words? Can you open your screen? No.
The screen, the full screen, like that.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I can see a bit more now. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Janet. Okay, so we had a show of about 4 hands in this room, 4 out of 14. And that just goes to show in the last talk that I did, we were quite a few people in the actual conference. And it was quite shocking that only 2 people in the room actually had heard of Z versus Z and DWT versus MT. So this is the current position mothers are facing, is that courts and people that are meant to be helping them, like attorneys and legal personas, do not understand the most recent case law, Z versus Z and DWT, to help the custodian parent when it comes to their child who has now turned a major. Okay. So just to give you a quick background of Z versus Z. Z versus Z was a case that emanated in Port Elizabeth, where a woman, Mrs. Z at the time, decided she was going to file for divorce in the Port Elizabeth High Court. When she was filing for divorce, she decided to apply for maintenance on behalf of her two young adult dependent children, who were 23 and 25 at the time. I think the question would be, and the question that comes up is, why were they dependent on mom and dad? They were dependent on mom and dad for two reasons. They were both staying in the house with mom. The 23-year-old was still at university, and the 25-year-old was tetraplegic and paralyzed from his neck down. So therefore, he was financially dependent on both parents. And we need to keep in mind that mom had been a stay-at-home mom because this now adult child had an accident when he was quite young, and mom had to be the stay-at-home parent who looked after this paralyzed child up until this stage of 25, when she decided she was going to divorce Mr. Z. While they were in the High Court, there were two Rule 43s that were ordered. And just before the third Rule 40, just after the Rule 40, the second Rule 43, the attorney, the legal counsel of Mrs. Z, found out that Mr. Z was dishonest about his income and that he was hiding and not disclosing his full income to the value of almost 70,000 Rand. So what was ordered and what he had offered was almost about 2,000 Rand per person, the two children and mom, which was about 6,000 Rand a month. Yet he was hiding 70,000 Rand away on a monthly basis and saying that he's not able to support the family any longer. He can't afford it. So this obviously came to the fore. And just 2 days before they were meant to appear in court again for the third Rule 43, Mr. Z had a special plea, and he said he disagrees with the mother coming to court to apply for maintenance on behalf of their young adult children, that if they wanted maintenance, they had to come to court themselves and apply for maintenance from him. On that note, considering everything that was happening, legal counsel and Mrs. Z decided to take this case on appeal to the High Court, to the Supreme Court of Appeal in Bloemfontein. When they got to the Supreme Court of Bloemfontein, I just want to make mention that the legal counsel were three brave, courageous women. Advocate Leila Kraus, the attorney was Annalie Erasmus, and junior counsel Annalise Maziza. These three brave women decided they were going to take this case on appeal to the Supreme Court of Appeal in Bloemfontein. In Bloemfontein, there was a bench of 5 judges led by Judge Meyer. And Judge Meyer, with his other 4 judges, decided that, in fact, the mother does have locus standi to apply for maintenance on behalf of their young adult dependent children. Now, what was really exciting, many of us that work in family law and with families, it was really exciting, and we welcomed this judgment because this judgment took precedence across South Africa in the various courts. Because prior to this, there was a lot of confusion as to what happens to young adult children when they reach the age of majority, which is 18. We found that a lot of fathers would unilaterally just stop paying maintenance. Either they would unilaterally decide to stop paying maintenance, or they will be advised by their attorney on a principle called ipsen iure, interpretation of the law or working of the law, Now that the child has turned 18, they have reached the age of majority, and therefore the father could start paying maintenance. This obviously caused a lot of stress for both emotionally, mentally, and financially for both the mother and the young adult dependent children, because we will see that many of them are still in matric. And so then what happened was, it took precedence across South Africa. It was the new decided case that mothers do actually have locus standi to apply for maintenance on behalf of the young adult dependent children. But what it also did was it created a lacuna. And for those of us that are not lawyers or legal eagles, I went to look up the word lacuna. It is a gap in law, an important issue that was not covered or omitted, creating a void in law. So what was the lacuna that was presenting from Z versus Z? Basically, it was that children from a maintenance court cannot apply, mothers in the maintenance court cannot apply for maintenance on behalf of the young adult children. It was only exclusive to the divorce court. That was the lacuna that presented. And what then happened is there were a lot of attorneys on Facebook, a lot of mothers, a lot of misinformation that was going around on Facebook and all these legal groups, all these parenting groups, where they were saying this case, Z versus Z, is only applicable in the divorce court. 3 months later, about 90 days later, give and take, there was another case in George, in the George High Court. It's a circuit court, so it's where the Cape Town High Court goes to sit in George, in a smaller town. And here, this High Court was led by acting Judge Saldanha and Erasmus. I've met Judge Saldanha, such a wonderful man, very humble, and just a heart for justice. So this case was decided upon in the George High Court, Circuit Court. And just for reference, give you a bit of context to understand it. This mother, Miss MT, she and Mr. DWT were separated. And while they were separated, they decided they had an agreement on maintenance for their children who were not adults at the time. He defaulted on his maintenance while they were still married. And when they were going through the divorce, there was an agreement that he would pay her out for the arrears that he had defaulted on. That didn't happen. So then she went back to the maintenance court and she applied for a Section 30 to recover the arrears on the maintenance that he had not paid. And then what happened was the arrears was to the value of about 70,000 Rand. Now the children were adult dependent children, and he took the case on appeal. Mr. DWT took this case on appeal to the High Court, and he was adamant that he was not going to pay arrears for the two adult children. His argument was the total of 70,000 Rand was incorrect because the two adult children, the mom can't claim that maintenance, but only for the one minor child. And so obviously this caused a lot of stress for the mother. How can you differentiate between a minor child and two adult children? They're all children in her children, their children in her mind. And she was very brave. She said, I will represent myself in the High Court. And she went to the High Court in George, armed with her little bundle of, her little court bundle, and she represented herself in court. In court, Mr. DWT had legal representative, and basically they said to her that she could not claim for maintenance on behalf of the young adult children because they were now majors and she didn't have locus standi. And she said, but case law Z versus Z says that I'm able to claim. And then they said, that case is only applicable to cases in the divorce court. And then she asked the question, what's the difference between children from the divorce court and children from the maintenance court? Surely they are the same children. And based on that, Judge Saldanha ruled In fact, there is no difference between the children from the maintenance court and children in the divorce court. And therefore, she had the locus standi to apply for the arrears on behalf of their young adult children. And there was an attachment of the 70,000 Rand from his pension that was sitting in his FNB account. So basically, DWT versus MT closed the lacuna that was presenting from Z versus Z. And now we can say that we've got two case law that stipulate mothers and give the authority that mothers do have locus standi to apply for maintenance on behalf of their young adult children. Now, I think the question I've had from a lot of people is, why are you so adamant about young adult children? And for those of you who know me, I've got this little warrior heart and I'm all about justice. And this emanated from a lot of the cases that I had personally done myself. And I realized that when people read case law, they don't really understand the facts behind what was presenting and why a mother would ask for maintenance on behalf of their young adult children. And so for those of you who know me, I love telling stories. And I thought I'll share 3 examples with you as to why I decided to, 1, educate on the position of young adult children. I've also written 2 articles on this very topic. The first one was on the 1st of February. It was published by DWT. That is on page 17 and 18. You're welcome to go read it. And the other one was published on the 1st of November this month with reference to DWT and versus MT. That's on page 16 and 17 of the article. So let me share some stories with you. Earlier this year, a 21-year-old contacted me and asked if I would mediate between her and her dad because she was tired of going to court asking her dad for maintenance. And in fact, they were now in the criminal court because the dad was in arrears. And every time I spoke to this 21-year-old, she was 20 at the time, she's now 21. Every time I spoke to this 20-year-old, you could hear the anxiety in her voice. You could hear the apprehension, the I want to give up. She had just moved into her new digs. And apparently she didn't even have the want to put up her curtains. She was so depressed. And so she said to me, you know, Natalie, the reason I want to give up is my dad's attorney has bullied me and I can't anymore. And if it means that I need to give up my studies, then maybe that's an option. But the more I listened to her story, I realized that this girl is actually an A student. I think she was in her 3rd year of university, total A student. And I connected with Dad and I said to Dad, let's, mediate, let's talk about this. Dad was a bit apprehensive. He was like, no, I've got an attorney. We're going to court. And I said to Dad, you guys are going to appear in the criminal court. What is that going to do for your relationship? And as I got to hear this girl's story, I found out that how she even got into the maintenance court is her mom and dad were getting divorced when she was 17, 2 weeks from turning 18. So while the mom was filing for divorce, the mom was trying to apply for maintenance. And the maintenance officer said to the mom, your daughter is turning 18 very soon. You can't apply for maintenance on her behalf. So she will have to come and apply for herself. The shocking horror of it all is that this girl was a matric. She was turning 18, or she had just turned 18. It was the day before her matric biology exam. She was sitting in a court doing an application to apply for maintenance from her dad. Now, when I heard that story, my heart broke to a level I cannot explain. I asked the question, what are we doing? We who are working with families, what are we doing to the moral fiber of society? How do we allow this to happen when she's meant to be focusing on her biology exam tomorrow, her matric exam, she's sitting in a court trying to secure maintenance from her dad. 3 years later, she's still fighting her dad, and she's heading for the criminal court. There's something wrong with that picture. The other case was a young girl. Last year, there was a young girl. She had come from Ladysmith. Now, for those of you who don't know where Ladysmith in the Western Cape is about 340 or 70 k's out of Cape Town. And when she returned 18 in her matric year, her dad stopped paying maintenance. So before she left Ladysmith to come to university at Stellenbosch University, she went to the maintenance court to apply for maintenance from her dad. Now, the court date was scheduled for I think it was the 23rd of February last year. And she had to come to Cape Town, to Stellenbosch, to do her registration and her induction at university. So she traveled 370 k's to get into university, to register, and literally 10 days later, she had to find money to go back to Ladysmith, 370 k's, to face her dad in court and try to secure maintenance so that she can continue with her university. Again, when I heard that story, I remember crying, because I think for those of us that are parents, we know that when our children leave our homes and they go into university, digs, residence, even their first homes, it is an overwhelming experience for them. It is daunting. They're trying to find themselves in all of this and to be independent and to still try and worry emotionally. To be brave to face your father in a maintenance court is totally unacceptable. These were two courts, and one was in the Eastern Cape and one was in the Western Cape, where two young adult dependent children were, or mothers, the mothers of these children were ill-advised. And who were the subject of this trauma? It was the young adult children. These two children, both girls, show the propensity to study, show the propensity to become decent citizens and want to build a life from themselves. But the courts or the maintenance officer directed otherwise. Most recently, I had a father, actually it was this time last year, I had a father contact me and he said, Natalie, I want you to mediate my case. I got hold of your number. I need you to mediate my case because I'd like to pay less maintenance. And I said, I'm happy to help you. Let me talk to the mother of your child, because he said, I've got one child, and we can then set up a mediation. When I contacted the mother, she was a bit surprised. She said, this is very strange because he's always paid his maintenance on time and he's never fallen short in paying his maintenance. So it's quite surprising that he would want to mediate. So she agreed to mediation, and I said to her, please bring the expenses of your child, your son. She said, no, I've got two children. And I said, oh, okay. How old is the other child? That child had just turned 18. She was a matric last year this time. And the dad decided he wanted to stop paying maintenance for her. So we mediated. It was successful in that we got the dad to understand that our economic climate in South Africa is not what it was, at least when I was growing up, where we could walk into a job. You know, even if it was a casual job, it was easy to do it back then. It's really difficult now. I know our young adult dependent child who's 19, she's finished matric or equivalent to matric this year. And when she's looked for a job, they keep saying no experience, even for casual jobs. It's really hard for them to get jobs. So while we explain this to the dad, and their dad said, okay, let's just get over Christmas. Let's get over Christmas because we're heading for Christmas and holiday. We'll come back in January and we'll have a discussion. When we came back in January, which was this year, she had gotten her results. And this was one bright young woman. She had 7 distinctions. And, you know, the mom asked the father, she's got 7 distinctions. You are a trust fund baby. You've never had to work your whole entire life. Your whole estate, it literally is an estate where you're staying, has been paid off. Can you not allow our daughter to go and study because she wants to study? And just having a conversation with dad, the awakening happened. And he agreed. She may go and study, and I will pay for her studies. So based on these stories, these are real stories. I think when we read case law, we don't understand the real picture and the real faces and the real lives behind this case law. And people just copy and paste case law and say, oh, you know, they're adults now, they must figure it out. The 2 examples, actually all 3 examples, were these girls were all in high school, all in the matric year, when dad decided to stop paying maintenance. Or like in the 3rd case, the dad wanted to stop paying maintenance. This is unacceptable. And so I think I share this for the mediators in the room. When we are mediating maintenance cases, when we're mediating a divorce and we're talking maintenance for the children, we must be mindful that these children will become a major soon or someday. And we need to make provision for when they turn 18. And hopefully till they are self-supporting themselves, especially if they show the propensity to study. Then parents do have a mandate and a duty to support their young adult dependent children till then. Okay, I think I've lost track of my slides, but let's go. Any questions thus far? We all good?
Natalie?
Yes.
So with well, adult dependent children, so obviously the one would be if, like you mentioned, they have a propensity to study, or if they have some sort of disability where they are dependent on their parental support. But what are the other instances where, over and above that, where they would be a dependency, or where they would need support or maintenance, rather?
So what are the other areas? Yeah.
So what would be other instances that would require maintenance for adult dependence?
So I think that would probably be it. I mean, ultimately, you don't want children living with their parents till they're 30, 35. You know, that's not that's enabling sort of them not becoming independent. Just to give context, I mediated a case yesterday where the mom, it was more for spousal maintenance, but she was also trying to claim for maintenance for her children who were his stepkids. And the reality is the boys were 23 and 20. They were sitting at home, not looking for work and not wanting to study. And he does not have a duty to support them in that regard. They need to go and find work. What I like to say in mediation, and as we mediate the matters, is we need to, you can't really put timelines, but as parents, we need to be helping our children become independent. And what does that look like? So when they start earning money, they'll come to mom and dad and say, look, I'm earning 2,000 Rand a month now. Get them to start saving and contributing towards the household. They're beginning to learn responsibility so that when they are working fully, they will know that they would have to leave the house or contribute towards the household. But parents cannot keep cannot keep paying maintenance for children that are not showing the propensity and do not have a financial need on their parents. It's a very tricky one. But I think we draw the line where children are just sitting at home, not looking for work, not making an effort, and just expecting parents to financially support them. Any other, maybe Dion can answer that. Dion's online, I see. If he's even listening. Hi, Dee. Okay, probably got it on mute, but let's move on.
Yeah,
Peter,
no, I'm here.
do you want to answer
I'm
that?
here.
Add to that?
Well, the duty to report or the duty to maintain is for as long as the child have a financial need. So if there is a financial need, then in all of those cases, that specific young child will qualify, even if the child is aged maybe 28 or 30 years old. If there is a financial need, that's all that the courts look at. So in the Z versus Z case, the children were 23 and 25. And in the DWT case, I think they were over 20. I'm not precisely sure. 22.
22 and 20, correct.
Yes. So, but in all of those cases, there was a financial need. So what I usually do when I do training of public prosecutors, then I tell them there is no specific end date to the financial need towards maintenance. And I always make the example that in the case of my brother that is age 40 years old, and he is have a financial need to maintain himself, then he can go to the maintenance court and he can apply for maintenance on behalf of himself being at the age of 40. So there is no end or cutoff date as far as that financial need comes. But in a case where you can obviously show that the person is not making any effort to somehow empower himself and sitting at home and playing TV games or doing any of that, then obviously it's a different game. And then you can then say that, no, but in this case, there is no liability or any need for me to maintain that young person. So from one person to the other, the facts will change. And based on the facts of the specific case, then the courts will make a decision whether there is any financial need, but there is no cutoff date.
Thank you, Advocate Ruiters, for answering that. Any other questions? No. Okay. So, yeah, Judge Saldana ruled in the DWT versus MT case that on the principle of equality, mothers in the maintenance court do have locus standi to apply for maintenance on behalf of the young adult children. And basically in his judgment in paragraph 18, he said, significantly, the law was of the view that it implicated the constitutionally entrenched fundamental rights to human dignity, emotional well-being, and equality of adult dependent children. And that was Mrs. MT's argument, that there is no difference between children in the maintenance court as well as children in the divorce court, but also how can they differentiate between the minor in the house and the two adult dependent children who were 20 and 22 at the time. She couldn't make that differentiation between her own children. Okay, so what can we learn from Z versus Z and DWT cases regarding young adult dependent children in the maintenance court is that mothers do have locus standi to apply for maintenance in the district magistrates courts, which is our local maintenance court. And maintenance applications for adult dependent children are not limited to the High Court Divorce Court in Rule 43 applications or the Regional Court in Rule 58 applications, but rather mothers can apply for maintenance on behalf of their young adult dependent children in the local maintenance courts. And the principle of Ipsen Uri does not apply to automatically discharge maintenance orders unless a specific age is mentioned in the court order. Be mindful. And so, like I shared earlier, as mediators, be mindful when we are drafting maintenance agreements between parents to cater for these children when they turn 18. Okay, so I think the way forward is, in terms of Section 6, when a father wants to stop paying a contribution of maintenance towards young adult dependent children, he needs to apply for a discharge order on a J107 application in the maintenance court. The parent should show good cause why the order should be discharged, and the mere fact that the minor has turned 18 or is deemed an adult in terms of Section 17 of the Children's Act 38 of 2005 is not a sufficient good cause. Therefore, it must be a change in financial circumstances on the father's behalf for him to get a discharge or a reduction in his maintenance. For mothers who would like to oppose discharge applications, where mothers are summoned on a Regulation 3 directive or Section 9(2) summons to appear in the maintenance courts, they must file an opposing affidavit as soon as possible. If there's an attorney with the opposing party, they must ask the maintenance officer to send the opposing affidavit to the attorney to make sure that there's no remand or postponement on the case once they get to court. And Section 10(6) says maintenance cases must be resolved speedily by limiting postponements and duration of remands. So if mothers get their opposing affidavits in time, it will limit or what's the right word? Prevent postponements and durations, postponements and a remand of the cases. In an opposing affidavits, mothers should indicate if the father is in arrears. You do this on a J470. Is that right, Dee? Is it a 470 or 380?
470 is the complaint form, and the J306 is where you want to garnish your order, or you want to attach his assets, or you want a pension, but J470 is the complaint form.
Okay. Thank you for that. So you would also indicate that there is a financial need for the young adult dependent child, and indicate if the young adults live with the mother, because it will show that there is a financial need for the young adult dependent children. And also indicate if there's a fear, if the children fear their father or any threats have been made, like my lawyer will flatten you, or my lawyer will question you for days, or like the story I shared with you of the 21-year-old girl who said her father's attorney has bullied her for the last 2 years. Okay. In your opposing affidavit, the mother should determine the amount needed for the adult children and provide information of the father's means. So if you know any of the father's means, make mention of it in your opposing affidavit. Defaulting action. So this is where I was, yeah. What about children where fathers have stopped contributing? They should file a J470, which is a complaint form, and calculate the amount that he owes since he has stopped paying the maintenance or contribution. If a court has already discharged the maintenance order, unfortunately, the mother will have to reapply for maintenance based on Z versus Z, okay, because that file has been closed. And if a child refuses to apply for maintenance, bring an application on behalf of the child, the adult dependent child, stating reasons why you're applying for maintenance on their behalf. You can also use an affidavit from the child stating they would prefer their custodian parent does the application on their behalf. Okay, so I think that brings me to the end of 45 minutes, to the end of my talk. I have written 2 articles. You can find them on the website, DWT. You're welcome to go and look them up. And if you want links to them, you can contact me on my cell number or my email address, and I'm happy to share the links with you. And on that note, do you have any questions? Thank you for listening. No questions. Yes, Janet.
Hi, Natalie. I just want to say thanks, and it's a pity I never knew about this 20 years ago, but then I don't think it was in the court 20 years ago. I was in and out of quite a few maintenance court jurisdictions, so I'd love to be able to help other moms one day. But thanks,
Wonderful.
very interesting.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. So are you a mediator or you a legal practitioner?
No, I'm a UCT. We've just done our mediation with you. I sat next to you at...
Yes, of course. You sat right next to me in the front row. My bad. I'm so sorry. Sorry, Janet.
No,
since
that's...
I've trained you. I've trained 10 other mediators last week, so apologies. Now I can...
No problem.
Wonderful.
No problem. Yeah, very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So nice to see you here, Janet.
Hi, Natalie. From my side, thanks a lot for the presentation. I just wanted to find out, is there a possibility that you can share the slideshow with us?
Yes, I'm happy to do that. If you pop me an email or a WhatsApp, and I can send my slideshow to my slides to you.
I will do that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gert.
Can I say something on what Janet just said?
Yes.
Janet, do you know that you can actually, you said that you wish you had this information 20 years ago. I just want to tell you there's a case, Arcus versus Arcus, that says that within 30 years you can claim maintenance. So your claim for maintenance still did not expire. So if you want me to help you, I can draft your affidavit for you and use the Arcus versus Arcus case. Natalie do have the case. I can, or she can send it to you. In the Arcus case, Ms. Jill Arcus over here in Cape Town applied for a maintenance. And in that specific case, the attorney said, no, your claim expired long time ago. And the Cape High Court found that, no, it doesn't work like that. Because the attorney said that a debt in civil matters prescribed within a period of 3 years, therefore, Ms. Arcus did not have a claim anymore. The Western Cape High Court found that there is no such thing. In cases pertaining to maintenance, women can claim that maintenance for a period of 30 years. So your claim still have 10 more years to go. So whenever you are ready, let us know and we can show you how you can claim all those years for all those years.
May I come in here, Natalie? Thank you for that, Dion. Thanks a lot, Dion. Unfortunately for my son, his dad passed away. So that's, and I know that one can claim from family, children or parents or whatever. Yeah, I went through the Wamba courts, the Cape Town courts, the Simonstown courts as I've moved down the line. And yeah, it's not an easy case, but I'm learning a lot. And I want to, as I say, help moms or dads, because this is not an easy journey. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Janet.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Janet. But I wish I could give you more advice. But also, in a case where you have an estate and there is some funds in that estate, I will even go for the estate. Peter Hugo is also over here. He will be able to give you information on it. But we pursue, no matter what, we will pursue it if we know that there an estate that he left behind after his demise, then we can even go after that. But for the other 17 that's on the group this evening, just remember that if there's one thing that you can take off, except for the information that you have on the adult dependent children, then please also remember your claim for maintenance only prescribe after a period of 30 years. So even if you don't pay now and he is not contributing, the moment he wins the lotto or he wins on the horses, then go after him. You'll be able to get all your money back for the next 30 years.
Thank you, Dion, for sharing. That's why we always want you in our groups.
Natalie, can I just check something with you or with Dion?
Yes, please.
If you don't
Go
mind.
ahead. We've got time. Go ahead.
When the father passed away, the sons took it upon themselves to. He had 2 kids from a previous marriage. They took it upon themselves to help me with the maintenance. And just as a matter of interest for record purposes, when my son finished his schooling, he's at varsity now. When he finished his schooling, the one son said, no, he's stopping the maintenance because he doesn't want to carry on. So I said, but the law says you must carry on until the child's self-sufficient. I know we're not going to carry on. So I thought to myself, I haven't got the energy to fight this. I've been in and out of so many courts. But just for the record, they are also obliged to carry on whether they're the parents or not. Is that not correct?
That's perfectly correct. Even in the case of, did you say that they are biological or are they step children?
They share the same father.
Okay, then there's still a maintenance obligation towards them because they are still family. They have the same blood relation. So in those,
but I just left it because I was so tired of fighting it. I mean, the father used to scream and shout at me in the maintenance courts, and the clerk used to sit there and say nothing. So I mean, I've had horrid experiences. That's why to actually help and do this mediation has come at the right time. Thanks. It's very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Janet. Any other questions?
Dion Geert here, I just want to find out from you, would it be possible to share your contact details too? I am brand new in this legal environment. I've finished my studies almost 22 years back. So it's kind of a mountain for me, and I must learn as much as possible in the shortest time so that I can just test certain things that I have already drafted. Maybe for someone just to critique it, if possible.
If we have Mrs. Ruiters' permission, then I will do so.
You're welcome to.
Platform.
You're welcome to. And please, Peter as well, make use of Peter. Sorry, Peter, I'm putting you on the... Peter is the most knowledgeable. He's my go-to person. So he explains the law to me. Peter, do you want to share your...
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dion. It's in the chat for those who want it. So, Gert, how are you associated with social justice? Are you a mediator as well?
I finished the 40-hour mediation, I think 2 months back, in the psychology. Yeah, so wonderful. I need to get on the roll with respect to that.
Wonderful. Well, welcome to the family.
Thank you.
Peter doesn't know his cell number. Can I put it with your permission? Peter. Okay, we'll put Peter's number in the chat box. Peter's also very helpful. Any other questions or thoughts on tonight? Okay. Well, then I think we're done for the... Oh, there. Dion's put it up. So, Gert, you can get Peter's number. So on that note, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. And I hope that we will, in our different fields of work, we'll make a difference when it comes to young adult dependent children. And remember that they are a vulnerable group in our society in South Africa right now. Okay. Good night, everyone. And
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Natalie.
Thanks,
Good
Natalie.
night.
Bye-bye, Peter.
Cheerio.
Bye.